I am here with someone who absolutely needs no introduction, an award-winning interior designer, a celebrity columnist, a prolific writer, and a luxury brand consultant, none other than Nisha Jamwal. Nisha, thank you for joining me. It's absolutely a pleasure talking to you on this Sunday lovely evening. And I have to tell you, Nisha, that I just mentioned in my introduction about these different roles that you've been juggling since long and exclusively doing well. Tell me, how do you do this, and how has the journey been so far?
The journey's been very exciting. I can't deny that it's been fraught with a lot of questions. Questions like, why am I doing so many things? Should I be doing just one thing and focusing? And when I heard, I know it's very passé, but when I heard Steve Jobs say that all the dots connect, in my life it actually has connected. Everything has connected, and everything has aided and abetted everything else. So yes, it's true that I started my journey as a fine artist, and my parents said that I must do something concrete, which is professional. And so I went to Los Angeles, to Long Beach. I lived at East Pacific Coast Highway. I studied interiors, architecture. I did top. And finally, when I came back to India then as a student in the late 90s, I found that the interior world was all about etched glass and Italian marble. There was no experiment. Today it's very different. So fairly disillusioned, I moved into fashion and writing. I became a prolific columnist and a writer. And I still love writing the most. I'm very passionate about it. So along the way I was modeling, and one of the head honchos who I was modeling for said, "You're so opinionated. Why don't you come on board as a brand consultant?" And I started doing brand consulting and luxury. So it's all sort of led from one thing to the other. Nothing's been really planned. And today I'm doing all of it. So yes, it's great fun, but I would be lying if I said that it's a cakewalk.
I'm sure. Right. Like you just said, that I think it was connecting dots and then coming to this point, and I'm sure still a lot of exploring is left. And I understand, Nisha, that reinventing and revamping a space is a delight. And I remember reading in newspapers somewhere that Nisha Jamwal is the Sushmita Sen of architecture world. And I absolutely love it, and I'd really like to know more about it. That tell me, how has the experience been in architecture, in interiors, and what have been your few latest projects, especially the bow concept, which has been doing quite rounds in the media, and people have been talking about it?
So being called the Sushmita Sen of architecture and design has been a huge compliment, because yes, she's a very dear friend, but she's also my hero. She's somebody I really do admire and respect. I respect Sushmita because she's lived life on her own terms. She's never been part of a herd. She's never been a groupie. She's always alone. And if you look at me, I'm not a groupie. I'm alone. I do my own thing. You'll never see me as a band of people. So I'm friends with a lot of people, but I do my own thing. Now it does invite some amount of admiration and adulation, but also sometimes I am the recipient of criticism. Right. But I've taken it on the chin, and I've lived life on my own terms. So yes, Sushmita and being equated to her is a huge compliment. I love her absolutely. And as for my journey in architecture, yes, it's glorious, but it's also had its share of disillusionment. In India, people are slightly difficult about paying. So today I'm very careful about the projects I take. I'm very picky, I'm very choosy, and I'm not picky and choosy about budget. It's not as if I'm taking projects that are in crores. I'm very happy to take projects in lakhs of rupees, and I'm very happy to do smaller, more modest homes like 2 bedrooms, or slightly suburban homes. I don't have to only do big glitzy South Bombay or South Delhi or London, the Kensington homes. But I'm very careful about the person I'm picking in terms of clientele. Right. And it's also started out, like I said earlier, it started out not very easily because you had people only wanting etched glass, Italian marble, and very prosaic carved furniture.
Right.
But things have changed, it's become exciting, and yes, I'm doing a lot of work in terms of branding for interior international brands coming into India. So I help them reach the right target audience. I hold very mega glitzy events for them, and I'm also helping them find the target niche audiences in terms of architects, designers, and aficionados of interiors and art.
Right.
So that's where I am right now. And apart from that, yes, I'm doing the interiors of homes, restaurants, dentists, clinics, medical, nursing homes, making them more cheerful, more exciting, children's nursing homes, and of course your regular, nice, beautiful residences. Another thing that I've diversified into, rather than doing a whole home, I style homes. I do the soft designing of
Right.
homes, which makes it economical for a client,
Right.
and it makes it easier for me in terms of not always having to interact with labor. And I have to say, on a realistic front, that labor is very often on holiday and is not always easy to deal with in India. I have found my balance there,
Right.
but it's not exactly the easiest thing.
Right.
So that's where I am with interiors, and all the awards that I won this year has been a very great motivational high point for me. I'm very excited, and I'm excited for new adventures. I'm not stuck in the mold of fashion, interiors, branding, or writing. I'm happy to explore newer things.
Right.
Travel is a very big love. So writing about my travel is another thing which I'm enjoying a lot.
Right. Lovely. You just told me that this has been a big experience, exploring these many things, and the journey is yet to be completed. I'm sure this must have taken a lot of hard work besides passion and interest. There are a lot of design students, and also generally there are a lot of students and budding artists who are watching this. So Nisha, if I may ask you, does work hard and play hard can be the ultimate motive to achieve success? Do you think so?
That's a very beautiful question, Karishma, and I just want to interject that it's beautiful chatting with you. Thank you for being a new and beautiful part of my life. I'm going to tell you later how Karishma and I met, which was so much fun. But coming back to this very important question, additionally, yes, working hard and playing hard is one of the most important things, but there's one more thing. And I want every student and every aspiring professional to know this from my experience, that to take the not so happy experiences on the chin and not get beaten, demotivated, and hurt by not happy experiences is very, very important. So you see the glamour, the glitz, and the fun of my life, because I'm not genuinely going to be posting the not so happy things. No one posts unhappy pictures and unhappy moments, right? So somebody wrote to me on Facebook recently that, Nisha ma'am, you have such a beautiful life. What do you know about pain and tragedy? But let me tell you, life is fraught with challenge, and also sometimes some amount of, I think humiliation is too strong a word, but times when you're not really feeling great about an episode, or about somebody hitting on you in the middle of a work meeting, or somebody keeping you waiting for too long and you're not feeling great about it. But please don't allow that to demotivate you. It's motivated me and made a stronger and braver person of me. And yes, my life has been also peppered with those experiences.
I'm sure.
Where like when you came today, I was waiting for you. And however big and however great a person becomes, you have to respect everyone who's part of your life and make them a beautiful part of your life. You don't begin to feel, hey, I'm so big and I'm so great and I can keep people waiting and I can treat their time lightly. So these are some lessons I've learned, and from these lessons I've become a more I know humility, and I know better work ethics today.
Right.
So I think if I was to agree with you on work hard and play hard, I have to add that take the pitfalls, the rapids, and the not so happy moments with more equanimity and nearly like a motivational landmark in your life. So I want to add that. to what you've said. And the second very important lesson which I learned, which I want to add to this, so there are these 4 lessons: work hard, play hard, and don't take humiliation, somebody's bad mood personally. And the most important thing for me was what Lord Jeffrey Archer said. Lord Jeffrey Archer is a very dear friend, and he said something very important to me recently when I was in London for his birthday. He said, we have to rush. And I said, Jeffrey, do you have something very important? Important. I thought you've kept this day for me. And he said, Nisha, there's very little time. So I said, today? He said, no, in life. To finish what you've set out to do, to write that book you've been wanting to.
Right.
To worship and pray, to finish reading the books. I'm a big voracious reader, but there are hundreds of books I still want to read. Do everything very quickly, because you know what's happened in Bombay, and for those of you who don't, there was a big massive fire in Kamla Mills, so close to home. We all party there. Life is very tenuous and very short. And what Jeffrey Archer was said is there's very little time. That was a big learning for me.
Right. I think that's something all of us are going to take back this 2017. But since you mentioned Lord Jeffrey Archer, how can I miss talking and knowing from you that beautiful part of your life where Jeffrey Archer had mentioned and was inspired to write about you in one of his short stories, Thereby Hangs a Tale. Tell me about that, Nisha.
So Jeffrey has been a great friend, and I've always loved and admired his books. It seems like yesterday when I was 14 and my mother thought I was studying for my exams. So I had my history book open, and in it hidden was Cain and Abel. So that's how I met Jeffrey Archer in the virtual world. And when I grew up and I met him at dinner, it was love at first sight for both of us, in a more platonic way, please don't get me wrong. We just hit it off so beautifully. And over the years, when he learnt my story, he started writing it, and he came to India once and he asked me to Thai Pavilion for dinner. And when he read out this, he picked out this piece of paper from his pocket and started reading a story about somebody called Rani. And it started with this love-making scene, and he said, that's your story. And I said, firstly, I don't like the name Rani. I don't think of myself as a Rani. And secondly, I don't want to be thought of by the whole world in white sheets. So he said, people would die to be written about by me. And I said, I'm very honored, but I don't think of myself like this. So he, hats off to him and to his humility, that he went back to the drawing board and sent me a beautiful draft where he'd used my real name, Nisha Jamwal. And he'd written this story anew. And it was so poignant and so beautiful. And I cried reading it. And then it was published in his book, And Thereby Hangs a Tale. And it was my birthday. It was May the 2nd, a few years ago, when he invited me to Souk, the rooftop restaurant at Taj. And he gifted me a hard copy, a limited edition copy. And he said, read it. And I said, I'm too scared to read my own story, So he read it out to me. And I must tell you, I shed a few tears. It's a poignant but a brave story. It's absolutely 100% true, if I may say so, at the cost of sounding immodest. And except the part where he calls me middle-aged, which I completely disagree with. I chided him for that. But the rest of the story, called Cast Off, in the book, And Thereby Hangs a Tale, is beautiful, it's fun, it's buoyant, and it's even inspirational to me. And when I read it, I wonder how I lived it.
Right.
I lived it and came out unscathed and fairly strong. Today, I consider a lot of my friends depend on me for getting out of crisis. You've seen how I dealt with crisis just recently. It's made me into a very strong and brave person without becoming cynical and losing my vulnerability.
Right.
So to come out unscathed without becoming cynical about life, I think is a bit of a feather in my life's cap. To say that it hasn't taken its toll in terms of some degree of that sense of poignance in my heart. It would be a lie. I do feel that sense of poignance. There are times I feel reflective, but I also feel very strong and equal to dealing with life at its own terms.
Right. I'm sure this has taken a lot of struggles to come up to be this strong and courageous. And so, Nisha, I'd just like to ask you, how would you define a strong woman?
I would define a strong woman very easily by a person who doesn't fear failure, by a person who doesn't look at themselves as impregnable, by a person who takes failure as a learning, by a person who takes life's hard lessons with a bit of a pinch of salt and a water off a duck's back, a person who takes criticism and the brickbats with the praise and the accolades with as much love, equanimity and passion as you do all the happy moments. So happy moments and sad moments, rapids and troughs and high points are part of life. And no one knows it better than me. So to be powerful, strong and equal to life, one has to be able to take the disappointments.
Right.
And just in 2017, I had devoted myself to a beautiful friendship, and it was a huge letdown.
Oh.
So I got so much learning from it.
Right.
And yet there were beautiful friendships like yourself. So Karishma and I met at when I was walking the ramp for Women Achievers evening organized by Dr. Rishma Pai. Hi, Dr. Pai. I hope you're watching. And I met her at the wine table when both of us insisted that we should be allowed to have a glass of white wine because we are guests. And the bartender said, no, it's closed. And I said to him, look, we are here as women achievers and you should be applauding us. And we met at the table where she came out of nowhere and said, I agree with her. And you can't deny us a glass of wine. And we became friends. So, the moral of this is you lose some and you win some. Absolutely. So I won you, an intelligent, smart, a person who understands me so beautifully. And I lost maybe somebody whose life mantra is to party and drink and have shots all the time. So it hurt me. I would be lying. And something, Karishma, another thing which you ask me, what makes a woman strong and powerful, is the ability to be hurt. Not to bullshit and say, hey, it doesn't matter. It does matter. You invest in something, it falls apart. It does matter. It hurts you. But that's part of life. Why would I bullshit? It did hurt me losing that friend and being so disappointed in her emptiness and her absolute, being a non-entity.
Right.
And here I found you. So when every door closes, every other door opens. There are many doors that close and there are many beautiful doors that open, and yet there are many people who you start your life with and you take them with you right through because they are beautiful parts of your life. So yes, there are some hits and there are some misses. It's like cricket.
Lovely. With that, Nisha, we're going to take the last question. I'd really like you to give a piece of advice to those women out there who are nervous to face the struggles of this world, who are probably skeptical to face this patriarchal society. How do we go ahead being that courageous?
So I want to start this answer by saying I'm always there for women, especially going through difficult divorces, for people struggling, for women who, want help, but I'm not a job, a headhunter. So don't be, too easy with this offer, but I am there for people who've really got a struggle. Secondly, how do women, your question was, how do women deal with struggle, deal with difficult times? My answer is that, take it step by step. Send out the right messages in the universe and pray. Don't ever, this is not an old wives' tale. Don't underestimate the power of prayer. It's beautiful, it exists, whether it's to Muhammad, whether it's to Christ, whether it's to Lord Krishna or Devi, whoever. It could be just the energy or the light. Prayer is beautiful, it's strong, it channelizes your inner, your own inner power. It channelizes that power. Secondly, take baby steps.
Right.
Whatever your dreams are, see Karishma, you're starting with baby steps
Right.
on your own journey. I started with baby steps. And hold on to beautiful people you meet. Don't take people for granted. They may not be there tomorrow. So hold on, because people, when they give you a slight amount of criticism, when they give you a slight amount of feedback, don't take it badly. I mean, they could be wrong. They could be trying to bust your chops. Maybe you could take it with a pinch of salt, but take some feedback that you agree with. Take it and try and improve. Never stop education and growth. My one big thing about 2018 to you is that please go ahead with education. Never stop the learning curve. The partner that I have in my life, the love of my life, the romantic man, said to me some years ago that don't let me leave you behind. I'm learning with every step. And that's the most beautiful thing he could have said to me, because I'm learning every day.
Lovely.
I read, I try and make notes. So we did that in school, right?
Right.
But I'd say do it to this day, do it now, do it as life moves on. And don't get stuck in other people's dreams,
Right.
whether it's your parents, whether it's your husband, whether it's your wife. Live your dreams and be happy to change. I mean, if you're not happy being an accountant and you want to become a photographer, please go and become a photographer, because we only know of this one life, though I do believe in reincarnation, but we know only of this life. So use it and live it to the best of your ability.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Nisha. With this, we are going to move on to the second segment, the final segment, which is going to be a quick rapid fire.
Oh God.
One phrase, and you can answer me in a word or a phrase, but this is easy.
Please.
So, shall we start?
Absolutely.
Right. What's your beauty mantra?
Love.
Brilliant.
Absolute love, because it starts showing on the face.
Right. Which celebrity gives you style inspiration?
Like I said, Sushmita Sen, and Western, Catherine Zeta-Jones. Her role in The Mask, the strength, the power, the ability to take adversity and live it as a crown.
Right. Red wine or white wine?
Red. Red, even though I met you over white, and white is supposed to bring the cheeks in and make you look thinner, but I really love red.
Lovely. So, how do you spend your weekends?
Isn't it funny that I spend the week going out, and the weekend, like tonight, I want to spend it in reading, prayer, meditation. So while the world parties on the 31st night, I want to spend it in meditation, prayer, and reading my favorite books, because you go out every single day or every single few days of a week. Today is special, and for me the 31st night is about the beauty of being with one's thoughts, one's books, and one's God.
Lovely. So, what do you prefer, a sari or a gown?
Any day a gown, you already know that.
Right. Last question. When are we seeing you back on TV?
Very soon, we are in talks. I do TV all the time, on and off, but for my show, very, very soon.
Lovely. Thank you, Nisha. That was lovely talking to you.
Love you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being on Let's Talk Content. Let's meet next week.